when 30 employees failed. A delivery girl solved the impossible problem and shocked the world. The Swift Runner headquarters buzzed like a disturbed beehive at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that would change everything. Red warning lights blinked across dozens of computer screens while frustrated voices echoed through the open-plan office. What started as a routine day had spiraled into the company's worst operational nightmare in months. "This is insane!" Marcus Chen, the head of dispatch operations, slammed his coffee mug onto his desk, sending brown liquid splashing across important papers. "Whoever placed this order must be pranking us. Nobody orders food for 7 different addresses with these kinds of crazy instructions." The order in question sat like a digital puzzle box on every screen in the building. Order #4A7X Crown had appeared at 2:15 p.m., placed by someone named N. Cross, with a premium account that promised a hefty bonus for successful completion. But success seemed impossible. The order contained 17 different items from 12 restaurants across the city. Each delivery had bizarre, contradictory requirements. Ring doorbell twice, then wait exactly 90 seconds before knocking. Customer has distinctive dragon tattoo on left wrist verified before handing over food. Leave package behind the 3rd flower pot. Do not ring bell under any circumstances. One address led to a construction site that didn't exist, while another pointed to a gated mansion with no working intercom system. Sarah Rodriguez, Swift Runner's top logistics coordinator, had been staring at the same screen for over an hour. Her usually perfect ponytail had come undone, and stress lines creased her forehead. "The system keeps rejecting our route optimizations," she muttered to her colleague. "Every time we try to assign drivers, it flags impossible delivery windows." Around her, 30 of the company's best minds worked frantically. Software engineers debugged routing algorithms, customer service representatives called disconnected phone numbers, and operations managers held heated discussions about protocol violations. The open office had transformed into a fight room, with teams huddled around whiteboards covered in delivery routes that led nowhere. "Maybe we should just cancel it," suggested David Park, a senior systems analyst who'd been with the company since its startup days. "Mark it as fraudulent and move on. We're wasting too many resources on one crazy order." "Are you kidding?" Marcus shot back, his voice rising above the general chaos. "This account has spent over $40,000 with us in the past 6 months. And Cross is one of our platinum customers. We can't just cancel because the instructions are weird." What none of them knew was that N. Cross was actually Nathan Crowley, Swift Runner's enigmatic billionaire founder, watching their every move through security cameras from his private office 3 floors above. Nathan had built his empire by testing limits of technology, of people, and of systems. Today's test was his most elaborate yet, designed to identify who in his company could think beyond rigid protocols when faced with the impossible. In the far corner of the dispatch floor, near the package sorting area, Riya Patel quietly organized returned items that had been sitting unclaimed for days. She'd only started working at Swift Runner 2 weeks ago, transferred from their struggling East District branch as part of a cost-cutting restructure. At 26, Riya had spent 3 years delivering everything from late-night pizzas to luxury goods, navigating the city's maze-like streets on her second-hand motorcycle. Unlike the frantic energy consuming the rest of the floor, Riya moved with calm efficiency. She'd learned long ago that chaos only bred more chaos. As she sorted packages, her ears picked up fragments of the heated discussions happening nearby. "The 3rd address doesn't even have a proper street number," someone complained. "Customer phone goes straight to voicemail every time," another voice added. "GPS shows the location is in the middle of a lake," laughed someone else, though the laughter held no humor. Riya glanced toward the cluster of frustrated employees, then at the abandoned delivery bag sitting in the corner marked "Order #4A7X Crown awaiting resolution." 3 separate drivers had already returned those packages, each claiming the deliveries were impossible to complete. While the 30 specialists continued their heated debates about system failures and protocol violations, Riya quietly walked over to examine the returned packages. Each bag had detailed sticky notes explaining why the delivery had failed, Address not found, customer unreachable, instructions unclear, security wouldn't allow access. But something caught Ria's attention that everyone else had missed. The delivery addresses, when written out on paper, weren't random at all. 3 of them shared the same last name: Crowley. 2 others were on consecutive streets in the upscale Riverside district. The delivery time windows, which seemed impossible when viewed separately, actually formed a logical sequence if someone drove the route manually instead of relying on the automated system. Interesting, Ria whispered to herself, pulling out her worn notebook where she kept track of difficult addresses she'd encountered during her delivery career. Cross-referencing the locations with her personal notes, she realized she'd actually delivered to 4 of these addresses before, back when she worked the East District route. The mansion with the broken intercom? She remembered the elderly housekeeper who always watched from the kitchen window. The construction site address? It was probably the new mixed-use development that had opened last month, but hadn't been updated in the GPS system yet. As the clock struck 5 p.m. and the 30 specialists prepared to call it a failed day, Ria made a decision that would change her life forever. She quietly grabbed the abandoned delivery bags, signed them out using her temporary contractor credentials, and headed for the exit. Nobody noticed the young woman in the faded delivery jacket disappearing into the evening traffic, carrying what 30 experts had declared impossible. By 6:30 p.m., the Swift Runner social media team was in full damage control mode. Angry reviews had started pouring in across multiple platforms, all related to the mysterious N-Cross order that had consumed their entire afternoon. Food never arrived. Terrible service, read one Twitter post with Swift Runner tagged. Waited 4 hours for my order. Driver never showed up. This company is falling apart, complained another customer on their Facebook page. Maya Singh, the head of customer relations, frantically typed responses while her team fielded increasingly hostile phone calls. This is a disaster, she muttered, watching their real-time rating drop from 4.8 to 4.2 stars in a matter of minutes. 7 different customers are furious, and we can't even explain what went wrong. Back in the operations center, the 30 specialists who had struggled all afternoon were now pointing fingers at each other. The automated systems, the customer instructions, the GPS coordinates, everyone had a different theory about why the order had failed so spectacularly. The problem is our routing algorithm, insisted Tom Bradley, a senior software engineer. It can't handle multi-location deliveries with these kinds of custom requirements. No, the issue is customer communication, countered Lisa Wong from customer service. Half these phone numbers don't work, and the instructions contradict each other. Marcus Chen loosened his tie and stared at the wall of monitors showing failed delivery attempts. Whatever the cause, we need to figure this out fast. N-Cross has a platinum account, and if word gets out that we can't handle complex orders. What they didn't know was that 20 miles across the city, Ria Patel was methodically solving their impossible puzzle, one delivery at a time. She had started with the easiest location, a downtown office building where the instructions read, "Deliver to Rebecca Crowley, Marketing Department, 15th floor." The building's security desk had initially refused to let her up after 6 p.m., but Ria had noticed something others had missed. The instruction also mentioned, "Purple scarf, works late on Tuesdays." A quick conversation with the security guard revealed that Rebecca was indeed known for her distinctive purple scarves and was notorious for staying late on Tuesday evenings. "You must be looking for the lady in marketing who never goes home," the guard had chuckled. "Purple scarf, right? She's up there." The second delivery had been trickier. The address led to a residential area where the instruction read, "Ring doorbell twice, wait 90 seconds, then knock. Customer is hearing impaired." Most drivers had given up after the first ring, assuming no one was home. But Ria had patience learned from 3 years of difficult deliveries. After exactly 90 seconds, her gentle knock was answered by an elderly man who smiled and signed, "Thank you," while pointing to his hearing aids. "Most people don't wait," he had written on a notepad. "You're the first delivery person who actually followed the instructions." As Ria rode her motorcycle through the increasingly dark streets, she began to see a pattern that the sophisticated computer systems had completely missed. This wasn't just a random collection of difficult deliveries, it was a test. Someone had deliberately created a chain of challenges that required human intuition, patience, and problem-solving skills that no algorithm could replicate. The third delivery took her to the mysterious construction site address that had frustrated the GPS systems all day. But Ria remembered from her East District days that new developments often took months to appear in mapping systems. Sure enough, behind the construction barriers stood a gleaming new apartment complex with residents who had been waiting for their food delivery since 3 p.m. Everyone else said this address didn't exist, laughed the customer, a young professional who gratefully accepted his cold dinner. You're like a detective or something. Meanwhile, back at Swift Runner headquarters, the crisis was deepening. Nathan Crowley's assistant had called the customer service line twice, politely inquiring about the status of the N-Cross order. Each time, representatives had to admit they were still working on it, while 30 of their best people remained stumped. Sir? Maya Singh reported to Marcus Chin. The customer is asking for a detailed explanation of the delays. What do I tell them? Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of professional embarrassment. In 5 years with the company, he had never encountered an order that had defeated their entire operations team. Tell them we're experiencing technical difficulties and offer a full refund plus credits for future orders. As the clock approached 8 p.m., most of the specialists began packing up their desks, defeated. Tomorrow, they would have to explain to upper management why SwiftRunner's supposedly advanced logistics system had been brought to its knees by a single customer order. None of them realized that in a quiet residential neighborhood across town, Ria Patel was completing the 6th successful delivery of the evening, having solved in 4 hours what 30 experts couldn't manage in 6. She had 2 deliveries left, including one final location that would change everything. The 7th delivery should have been simple, a high-end restaurant order for someone named James Crowley, at a gated community in the wealthy Hillcrest area. But as Ria approached the imposing iron gates at 8:45 p.m., she understood why 3 previous drivers had given up. The security booth was empty, the intercom system showed nothing but static, and the gates were locked tight. The delivery instructions were unusually specific. Do not call security. Customer has distinctive dragon tattoo on left wrist. We'll meet you at side entrance near tennis courts. Most delivery drivers would have marked this as undeliverable and returned to base. But Ria had noticed something during her years navigating the city. Gated communities often had service entrances that residents used for evening jogs or walking their dogs. She parked her motorcycle and walked the perimeter fence until she found a smaller gate marked Residents Only, Tennis Court Access. She waited exactly 10 minutes, checking her phone for the time, when a jogger approached from inside the community. He was in his 40s, wearing expensive running gear, and when he stopped to unlock the gate, Ria glimpsed exactly what she was looking for, a detailed dragon tattoo wrapped around his left wrist. James Crowley? She asked quietly. His face showed genuine surprise. You actually made it. The other drivers didn't even try to find the tennis court entrance. He accepted the bag of food with a smile that seemed to hold more meaning than a simple delivery warranted. You're very observant. As Ria rode toward the final delivery, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being tested. 7 successful deliveries, each one requiring a different kind of problem-solving skill that went far beyond following GPS coordinates. The patterns were too deliberate, the challenges too perfectly designed to reveal specific abilities. The 8th and final delivery was the strangest yet. The address led to a quiet residential street in an older part of town, where small houses sat behind mature oak trees. Number 1247 Maple Street looked ordinary enough, a modest single-story home with a well-maintained garden. But something was off. The house appeared empty. No lights glowed in the windows, no car sat in the driveway, and the mailbox at the curb was completely blank, no name, no numbers, nothing. The delivery instructions were the most cryptic yet. Final destination. Trust your instincts. The Guardian watches over what matters most. Ria circled the block twice, studying the house from different angles. Most delivery drivers would have called the customer, discovered the phone number was disconnected, and marked the order as undeliverable. But Ria had learned to read between the lines of difficult instructions. "Trust your instincts," she repeated to herself, parking her motorcycle across the street. "The Guardian watches over what matters most." She walked up the front pathway, noting details others might miss. The garden was well maintained despite the house appearing empty. Fresh tire tracks in the driveway suggested recent visitors. And there, beside the front door, stood a small stone statue of a dog, a guardian figure watching over the entrance. The instructions suddenly made sense. Ria knelt beside the statue and carefully placed the final delivery bag behind it, exactly where it would be protected from weather but easily found by someone who knew where to look. As she stood up, a subtle movement caught her eye. A tiny red light blinked from under the eaves of the house, a security camera, nearly invisible in the shadows. Another camera was mounted discreetly on the oak tree in the front yard. This empty house was being watched very carefully indeed. Walking back to her motorcycle, Ria felt a strange mixture of accomplishment and confusion. In 6 hours, she had completed 8 deliveries that had defeated 30 of SwiftRunner's best employees. Each location had required a different approach: patience with the hearing-impaired customer, detective work at the hidden apartment complex, observation skills at the gated community, and now intuitive problem-solving at this mysterious final address. But why had all these challenges been bundled into a single order? Who was in, cross, and why had they created such an elaborate test? As Ria rode through the quiet streets back toward the SwiftRunner headquarters, she had no idea that her every move had been recorded, analyzed, and discussed in a boardroom far above the chaos she had left behind. The empty house at 1247 Maple Street wasn't empty at all. In a darkened room, Nathan Crowley sat watching multiple security feeds, making notes on a legal pad. For the first time in months, he was smiling. After 6 hours of watching his company's best minds fail spectacularly, he had finally found what he was looking for: someone who could see solutions where others saw only problems. At exactly 7 a.m. the next morning, 12 of SwiftRunner's top executives filed into the glass-walled conference room on the 35th floor, each carrying tablets loaded with yesterday's operational disaster reports. They expected a routine quarterly review meeting. None of them knew they were about to witness the most dramatic performance evaluation in corporate history. Nathan Crowley stood at the head of the polished mahogany table, impeccably dressed in his signature navy suit, but his expression was darker than anyone had seen in months. The wall-mounted screens remained black, creating an ominous atmosphere that made even the most senior executives shift uncomfortably in their leather chairs. "Yesterday," Nathan began, his voice carrying the quiet intensity that had built a billion-dollar empire. "Our company faced a test. Not from competitors, not from market forces, but from a single customer order that exposed fundamental flaws in how we operate." Marcus Chin, seated halfway down the table, felt his stomach drop. As head of dispatch operations, he knew exactly which order Nathan was referring to. The N-Cross debacle had kept him awake all night, rehearsing explanations and excuses. 30 of our best employees," Nathan continued, beginning to pace behind his chair. "People with advanced degrees, years of experience, and access to cutting-edge technology, spent 6 hours on what should have been a routine delivery task. 30 specialists with a combined salary cost of over $2 million annually." Sarah Rodriguez, the logistics coordinator, stared at her hands. She had already prepared her resignation letter, assuming her career at SwiftRunner was over. Nathan touched a button on the remote in his hand, and the screens came alive with footage from the dispatch floor. The executives watched their colleagues from yesterday, the frantic discussions, the heated arguments, the visible frustration as teams struggled with the mysterious order. "System failures," they claimed, Nathan narrated as the footage played. "Impossible instructions. Non-standard protocols. GPS errors. Customer communication breakdown." His voice grew colder with each excuse. "Every single one of you blamed the tools instead of questioning whether the problem required a different kind of thinking. The camera footage switched to phone recordings, customer service representatives offering refunds and apologies, social media managers crafting damage control responses, and managers scheduling emergency meetings to discuss system improvements. While 30 trained professionals declared defeat, Nathan said, his tone shifting to something that made everyone lean forward. One person quietly solved the entire puzzle. The screens changed to show external security footage, a young woman on a motorcycle, moving efficiently from location to location. The executives watched in stunned silence as Riya Patel navigated each delivery challenge with calm precision. Rebecca Crowley, that's my niece, by the way, confirmed the delivery arrived exactly as instructed. Purple scarf, works late on Tuesdays. How did this delivery person know to wait and ask the right questions when 3 previous drivers gave up immediately? The footage continued, showing Riya's patient interaction with the hearing-impaired customer, her detective work at the hidden apartment complex, and her intuitive problem-solving at each location. James Crowley, my brother, was particularly impressed. He said she was the first driver to actually find the tennis court entrance and wait for the specific visual confirmation mentioned in the instructions. Maya Singh from Customer Relations felt her face flush red. Sir, you mean all those customers complaining online were my family members? Yes, Nathan confirmed. Each one specifically instructed to provide honest feedback about the service they received. And every single one of them praised the final delivery person while criticizing our company's earlier failures. The room fell completely silent except for the hum of air conditioning. 12 executives stared at the screen showing Riya's methodical completion of each delivery, culminating in the final footage from 1247 Maple Street, Nathan's own property. This young woman, Nathan said, zooming in on Riya's face as she carefully placed the final package behind the Guardian statue, had no advanced training, no management authority, no access to our premium routing systems. She's a contract worker who started 2 weeks ago. Yet she demonstrated every quality we claim to value: customer focus, creative problem solving, adaptability, and attention to detail. Tom Bradley, the software engineer, found his voice first. Sir, what was the purpose of this test? Nathan's expression softened slightly, but his words remained sharp. To identify who in this company can think beyond their job descriptions when faced with the unexpected. To find people who see customers as human beings with unique needs rather than data points in a system. He clicked the remote again, and the screen showed SwiftRunner's organizational chart. 30 positions at various levels, all filled by people who defaulted to excuse-making when challenged. And one temporary contractor who saw patterns, solved problems, and delivered results. The executives watched as Nathan highlighted Riya's employee profile, a sparse record showing her transfer from the East District, her minimal corporate training, and her temporary contractor status. Her name is Riya Patel, Nathan announced. And she's about to become the most important hire in SwiftRunner's history. The question for all of you is this: what are you going to learn from someone who succeeded where you failed? The silence that followed was deafening. Riya Patel arrived at SwiftRunner headquarters at 8:30 a.m., expecting another routine day of sorting packages and handling small deliveries. She had no idea that her life was about to change forever, or that her quiet heroics from the previous evening had already become legendary in corporate boardrooms 3 floors above. As she walked through the dispatch center, something felt different. Conversation stopped when she passed. Colleagues who had barely acknowledged her existence suddenly looked at her with expressions she couldn't quite read. Was it respect, curiosity, or something else entirely? Riya, called Marcus Chen from across the room, his voice carrying an unusual tone of formality. Could you come to my office, please? Her stomach lurched. In 3 years of delivery work across 2 companies, being called to a manager's office usually meant one thing: trouble. Had someone discovered that she'd taken those abandoned packages yesterday? Had she violated some protocol she wasn't aware of? Am I in trouble? She asked quietly as she sat across from Marcus's desk, her hands fidgeting with the zipper of her delivery jacket. Marcus looked uncomfortable, running his hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she noticed during yesterday's chaos. Honestly, Ria, I'm not entirely sure what's happening. I've just been told that Mr. Crowley himself wants to speak with you. The founder. He's coming down here personally. Ria's eyes widened. In her 2 weeks at Swift Runner, Nathan Crowley had been more legend than reality. A name mentioned in hushed tones, a signature on company emails, a photograph in the lobby that looked more like a movie star than a real person she might actually meet. Did I do something wrong with that order yesterday? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The N-Cross delivery? I know I wasn't supposed to take those packages without permission, but they were just sitting there, and the customers were waiting. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted in the main dispatch area. Voices rose in excitement and surprise, followed by an unusual hush that seemed to spread across the entire floor like a wave. Nathan Crowley had entered the building. He walked through the dispatch center with the confident stride of someone accustomed to command, but his expression was unlike anything the regular employees had ever seen from their billionaire founder. Instead of the distant, corporate demeanor they expected, his face showed genuine warmth and what looked suspiciously like anticipation. Behind him followed Sarah Rodriguez, Tom Bradley, and several other senior managers who had been in the morning's boardroom meeting. Their faces showed a mixture of curiosity and barely concealed embarrassment, executives who had been humbled and were about to witness someone else's moment of triumph. Ria Patel? Nathan's voice carried across the suddenly quiet dispatch floor. She stood up slowly, her legs feeling unsteady. Every eye in the building seemed focused on her as she walked toward the man whose company employed thousands of people and commanded headlines in business magazines. Yes, sir, she managed, her voice stronger than she felt. Nathan smiled, not the practiced corporate smile she'd expected, but something genuine and almost parental. I believe you handled a delivery for me last night. Multiple deliveries, actually. For someone named N-Cross? The puzzle pieces clicked into place in Ria's mind. N-Cross. Nathan Crowley. The elaborate test, the impossible instructions, the feeling that she was being evaluated for something bigger than just package delivery. That was you, she said, not a question but a statement of dawning understanding. That was me, Nathan confirmed. And you accomplished something that 30 of my most experienced employees couldn't manage. You saw patterns where they saw chaos. You showed patience where they showed frustration. You solved problems where they made excuses. The crowd of employees pressed closer, sensing they were witnessing something unprecedented in company history. Ria, Nathan continued, his voice carrying clearly across the silent floor. I'm creating a new position in this company. Head of Adaptive Logistics. It's a role that will bridge the gap between our technological systems and the human insights that make exceptional service possible. The position reports directly to the executive team and carries full authority to redesign how we handle complex customer needs. The offer hung in the air like something magical and impossible. Around them, Ria could hear colleagues whispering in amazement. The salary is $85,000 annually to start, with performance bonuses and stock options. Nathan added. You'll have a team of 5 specialists working under your direction, and your primary job will be identifying the kinds of problems that require human intuition rather than algorithmic solutions. Ria looked around at the faces surrounding her, some showing genuine happiness for her unexpected success, others displaying barely concealed envy or disbelief. Marcus Chin nodded encouragingly, his earlier embarrassment replaced by something that looked like pride. Sir, Ria said carefully, yesterday I was sorting return packages for minimum wage. Today you're offering me an executive position. I don't understand why. Nathan's smile widened. Because you succeeded where others failed, not by knowing more, but by caring more. You saw customers as people rather than problems to be solved by computers. That's exactly the kind of thinking Swift Runner needs to stay ahead of our competition. He extended his hand toward her. What do you say, Ria? Ready to help us build the future of logistics? As she reached out to shake his hand, accepting an opportunity that would transform her life completely, Ria couldn't help but think about all the times she'd been overlooked, underestimated, and treated as just another temporary worker. Not anymore. 6 months later, Riya Patel stood on the stage of the Global Tech Innovation Summit in San Francisco, looking out at an audience of 3,000 industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and journalists from around the world. The woman who had once sorted packages in the corner of a dispatch center was now the keynote speaker at one of technology's most prestigious conferences. "When I took those 8 packages that everyone said were undeliverable," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the massive auditorium, "I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone. I was just doing what felt right, treating customers like human beings with real needs instead of data points in a system." The transformation had been remarkable, but not without its challenges. Riya's first months as head of adaptive logistics had been a whirlwind of learning corporate protocols, managing her new team, and most importantly, proving that her success wasn't just a lucky accident. Her department had revolutionized SwiftRunner's approach to difficult deliveries. Instead of automatically canceling orders that didn't fit standard algorithms, they developed a human-centered review process. Complex deliveries were flagged for personal attention, and drivers were given additional context and problem-solving authority. The results spoke for themselves. Customer satisfaction scores had increased by 34%, and SwiftRunner's ability to handle unique delivery challenges had become a major competitive advantage. More importantly, employee morale had improved dramatically as drivers felt empowered to use their judgment and creativity. But the real shock had come 3 months ago, when Nathan Crowley made an announcement that sent ripples through the entire tech industry. "Ladies and gentlemen," he had said at SwiftRunner's quarterly investor meeting, "I want to tell you about Project Riya, our new routing and logistics engine named after the person who taught us that human intuition and technology work best when they complement each other, not when one tries to replace the other." The story had exploded across business media overnight. "Delivery Girl becomes executive after solving order that stumped 30 engineers," read the headline in TechCrunch. Forbes featured Riya on their 30 under 30 list. Harvard Business School requested permission to write a case study about her promotion and its impact on corporate hiring practices. The attention had been overwhelming at first. Riya remembered the morning she woke up to find 17 interview requests in her email inbox and a camera crew waiting outside her apartment building. The shy delivery worker who had once avoided office conversations was suddenly being asked to share her insights on leadership, innovation, and the future of work. "What I learned," Riya continued from the conference stage, "is that sometimes the most advanced solution is also the most human one. Technology should amplify our ability to care about people, not replace it." In the audience, Nathan Crowley watched with pride as his former temporary contractor commanded the attention of industry titans. The decision to promote her had been vindicated in ways he never could have imagined. SwiftRunner's stock price had increased by 23% following the publicity around Riya's story and the innovations her department had implemented. More importantly, the company had fundamentally changed its culture. The 30 employees who had failed the original test had not been fired, as many expected. Instead, they had been enrolled in Riya's new training program, Human-Centered Problem Solving, where they learned to balance technological solutions with empathetic customer service. Marcus Chin, now serving as Riya's deputy, had become one of her strongest advocates. "She taught us that being smart isn't just about knowing algorithms," he had told a reporter last month. "It's about understanding that behind every order is a real person with real needs." The ripple effects had extended far beyond SwiftRunner. Other companies began examining their own hiring practices, questioning whether they were overlooking talented people who didn't fit traditional corporate profiles. The Riya effect, as business journals called it, had sparked conversations about recognizing potential in unexpected places. 3 years ago, Riya said, approaching the conclusion of her keynote speech, "I was delivering pizzas and hoping to make enough money to pay rent. Today, I run a department that handles some of the most complex logistics challenges in the industry. But the most important thing I've learned is this: innovation doesn't always come from the people with the most impressive resumes or the highest degrees. Sometimes it comes from people who simply care enough to see solutions where others see problems." The audience erupted in sustained applause. In the front row, she spotted several young delivery drivers who had been given special passes to attend the conference. Nathan's idea to remind everyone that tomorrow's leaders might be working on the front lines today. As Rial left the stage, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. From the chaotic dispatch floor where 30 experts had declared a task impossible, to this moment where she was inspiring thousands of people to rethink what leadership looked like. Her phone buzzed with a text message from her team back at Swift Runner. Another impossible delivery just came in. Should we tell them it's impossible, or should we solve it? Ria smiled as she typed her response. You know what to do. Trust your instincts, think like humans, and remember, there's no such thing as impossible, only challenges we haven't figured out yet. The delivery girl who had shocked the world was now teaching the world to think differently. And this was just the beginning.